talk to me a bit about Midsummer. Tell me what it's been like to go pro over the last year and a half, and how does that all translate?
Um, I'm still not working, if that makes sense. Um, the going pro is in the system that I've got here, and again, I sent you pictures, which think you'll show. Um, it's really just a scaled up homebrew system. It's Bubba's Barrels equipment, which all Bubba's Barrels does is take stainless steel drums and convert them, put fittings on them and whatnot, and heating elements. Um, but yeah, like they say, you do something that you love, you don't work a day in your life. And I'll put in. My associates tell me take a day off. I says, and do what? Well, what would I do on my day off? Well, let's see. I'd brew beer, so I may as well do it here, right? But yeah, I don't really feel like I'm working at it. I mean, I just go there. I go through the motions. There's things I got to do, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. Um, get to do what I like to do,
Right
and
on.
and of course, being um, a member of the LLC, I'm my own boss. So if I want to go take extended lunch, I can go do that, provided the brewing lets me do it. You know,
Mhm.
but I show up when I show up when I get there, and I go home when I leave. So
With the job aspect of it, man, that's the dream, right? Y'all, everybody wants that.
right,
With the with Midsummer now, kind of. I mean, you started Midsummer in the middle of the pandemic, did you not?
yeah, it started just before the pandemic started. Um, we were originally going to just do commercial brewing. We're going to brew enough. It's a 3 barrel system, which in an ideal situation gives us 18 sixtels. And we were just going to sell them to restaurants, bars, and whatnot around the area. And then we had there's a food grocery store chain down there called Lowe's Foods, which is actually related to the Lowe's hardware store. It's like a distant cousin or something like that.
Okay.
Um, and also the Lowe's theaters, which I don't think everybody know that they're all related.
Hmm.
But they're kind of like Mariano's, where they have a tasting bar in their beer section, um, and they have what's called a beer den, which they just have like 6 taps in the middle of the store. You can get a pint of beer and go shopping if you want to walk around the store with the pint, or you can sit down in the beer den and just enjoy it. But we did a tap takeover there, and we took over all 6 of their taps in our first batch. And again, I sent you another picture. Those 2 gentlemen were the very
Mhm.
first people to buy a pint of Midsummer beer. I have no idea who they are, but so we did this tap takeover, and we had about 150 people come
No kidding.
in an area like I don't know 20 by 20. It's packed in there, and we went through 8 sixtels that night, and apparently 8 or 9 sixtels, and apparently we tripled Lowe's Foods record for tap takeovers.
Wow.
Um, so that went well, and Lowe's Foods is like a chain, like Mariano's. They're all over the Winston Salem, Greensboro, actually pretty much the whole North Carolina area, some extending into Virginia, and about half of them have beer dens, and we had all of them lined up. We did another tap takeover in another town called King, um, and again, a ton of people were there. And we had all the other Lowe's Foods lined up all throughout the Winston Salem area, And then the pandemic hit and they canceled everything. So here we are sitting on 150 gallons of beer in our cold room and can't move it.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, what are we going to do about it? So, well, I came home during the pandemic, sat here for like 4 or 5 months, 6 months. And then North Carolina started easing the restrictions up a little bit. And they opened up wineries. Wineries could have their tasting rooms open, but bars and breweries couldn't, and tap rooms couldn't be open. So there's a group in North Carolina called the North Carolina Brewers Guild. They went to bat for the breweries and pulled the governor aside and said, "What's the game here? What's the deal?"
Mm-hmm.
And the governor actually bent and said, "Okay, I guess you're right. Wineries can be open with their tasting rooms, so breweries can be open with their tap rooms." So with that, we hurry up and slap together a tap room. Bars still couldn't be open and restaurants couldn't be open, but the breweries could.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. But
in those early days, it was a weird time.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it all unfold on the news, and
there were so many exceptions to the rules. It was crazy. But so we hurried up, built a bar, and cleared out an area that was really just going to be the office area, and just turned it into a tap room. And we opened the tap room in the middle of the pandemic in October of 2020. 2020, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we had started in 2019, and then 2019, well, early spring 2020 is when the pandemic started. That's right. So we were able to get the tap room open. I drove to Raleigh, North Carolina, with our application for our ABC permit, and hand delivered it and got our permit right away. So then we opened the tap room, and we've been open ever since.
And then off to the races from there. So what's is the ESB is not your flagship? I mean, what's your flagship? What's your go-to beer
at Midsummer?
Yeah, at Midsummer.
We really don't have a flagship per se. They're all flagships. One of the things that we do at Midsummer is we don't specifically brew one style of beer. You go into, I don't know how many brew pubs and tap rooms you go into, and they got IPA, and a stout.
Pastry stout. Yes.
We try to, we've got 10 taps right now. We actually at one time had 14 beers at a given time, all different styles. So everybody could find something.
As I say, that's my kind of place right there. I like the variety.
One of our biggest sellers is a Kolsch.
Absolutely.
It's very refreshing. It's my go-to beer after a day of brewing. No drinking beer during the brewing process.
Can cause issue.
Oh yeah. Mistakes are directly proportional to the amount of alcohol consumed. And at the end of the day, I'll pour myself a pint, and I'll have like half of it gone on the first tip back. But it's very refreshing. A lot of people, they come in and go, "Oh, and they got like Narragansett or Budweiser." So, well, we got a Kolsch. It's a lot better. And then they drink it and they're converted. But then we're somewhat Belgian centric. We got a couple of Belgians. We do a Belgian blonde. We do a wit. We do that Ruby Skies, which is a hibiscus wit. We do an IPA where we add a little lemongrass and ginger. Not enough where it's you drink it, you go, oh, ginger and lemongrass. It's enough where it just kind of enhances it. That's one of the things we do with our when we do add spice or whatever not herbs, but spice to it. We're not doing it there to be upfront with it. We're just doing it to round out the flavor of the beer. My one partner, Jeff, he's got a very, very discerning palate, and he's very, very good at tweaking things and getting the flavors just right. It's just there to enhance stuff. But we do the ginger lemongrass IPA, which is very well balanced. It's not super hoppy. We do two any IPAs because they're popular right now.
Sure.
And they're very good. One is called Sunring, which I gave you a bottle of. You have to try that and let me know.
Oh yeah.
Another one
that's after the call.
Yeah, right. Another one that we do is Dreaming of Yuzu, which is another any IPA with a different hop bill, kind of really trying to push the citrus. And Yuzu is
the fruit,
citrus fruit. It looks like a ugly, wrinkly lemon. It's actually
called worse.
It's actually banned in this country as a fresh import. You can only get it extract.
Really?
Yeah. They're afraid it'll transmit disease to the nation's citrus crop. It's really hard to put your finger on it when you taste it. It just tastes like citrus. It tastes like tangerine, tastes like lemon, tastes like grapefruit, tastes like orange, tastes like tangerine. Tastes like mall.
Tastes like mall. That sounds good.
Yeah, and it really just enhances the citrus quality of the hazy. We do a double IPA, which we call Neo, which is Swedish for 9. It's 99 IBU, 9 SRM, 9% alcohol. So,
well done, sir.
Yeah.
Well done.
We do a Grandma Stout, which is an imperial stout, which we enhance with a little vanilla and juniper.
Juniper, okay.
The juniper actually mellows out the vanilla, so it kind of gives you the sense that it's been barrel aged, but it's not.
Okay. Yeah, a little bit of the gin barrel character there. Yeah.
What else am I missing? Oh, I mentioned the Kelpie's Ride, which is Scottish. We do an Irish red rye when we're not doing Kelpies. And then an American stout, which we call Stone the Crows.
What bringing it back to the ESB here? This was Autumn's Tell. Is there a story there?
That's SB, not an ESB.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I got an ESB in pilot right now, where I just basically take that, kick it up a little bit to bring the gravity up, and I've added a touch of local sorghum molasses that one of our patrons brought in me a couple of quarts of sorghum molasses that they made.
Ooh, homemade.
Yep. So they were very excited when I gave them a taste of the pilot batch.
Yeah. The Autumn's Tell though. What's the story behind the name there? Is there one? I don't even know.
Autumn's Tell again. We just whenever we came up with a beer, and that beer was originally called Save the Ales.
Okay.
Which can't use because somebody's already used it. But what happened was we had the ale yeast that we were going to brew in something else, and we never got around to it, or something went wrong. I don't know, but we had the yeast, and we had to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you buy a commercial batch of yeast, I buy White Labs at half liter at a time, which is like 10 times the size of those little packets you get.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $100. So we had to brew a batch and save the ale.
Yeah.
So when we brew a beer and we decided we want to actually commercialize it, the three of us just sit down, and it literally takes like half an hour, whatever, just brainstorming names up, and then Google it. Nope, can't use that one. And then come up with another name. Our original theme was we were kind of trying to do nature kind of things. The label on Autumn's Tell was going to be a deer buck, just standing there, like like you'd see in autumn,
Mm-hmm.
and that would be the telltale that autumn's coming. So
All right.
that's kind of the way the name came about. Stone the Crows, obviously, from that guy. Mutual Obsession, which is the lemon or the ginger IPA. That was a name that those guys had already come up with. That they had developed the recipe, and there was their mutual obsession to come up with an IPA. So they all kind of come along with the name. Yeah, and then our wit is called Summer's Call. So along the lines of, being nature and whatnot. And
I like it. No, I like it. And you look like you're having fun with it. I mean, and that's the coolest part to me to watch. So,
you got
really,
the shirt on,
That's hey, you got to rep the brand. I get it. So where are you guys located?
We
in North Carolina?
In a little. It's a little town, but it's a huge area called Westfield, North Carolina. It's near Pilot Mountain, or it's near. Well, it's actually closest to Pilot Mountain, but it's near Mount Airy, North Carolina.
So this smells wonderful. What am I dealing with here?
This is Sunring. It has. Jeez, I should have looked this up real quick. It's double dry hopped.
Yeah, but that's not too aggressive. I mean, I've had some DDH beers that are like,
I don't know.
And so what's so Sunring? What's the deal on this one?
It's a fairly dragged out hopping schedule. This is one of the ones that my associates came up with. Nelson Sauvin. The Nelson Sauvin is kind of the bittering hop, which is kind of a misnomer in any IPA because the bittering goes in at 15 minutes. But there's just so damn much of it, it kicks in. I think we put like about $250 worth of hops in this beer. It's of course our most expensive beer to sell. But yeah, there's Nelson Sauvin, Galaxy, Mosaic, and what did I say before?
I call it tasty. That's what I call it.
Trade secret. But yeah, it's double dry hopped, and that's a real joy getting out of the fermenter too.
Yeah, after the second dry hop.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that? Do you have like a hop back or anything on your unit? Like how do you?
Just dump them
how
in.
do you serve? How do you circulate your hops and all of that through your stuff?
In the boil kettle or the
in general. I mean, like I haven't seen your system. How big is your system? Like you said,
the boil kettle we just boil up, boil like normal. I wanted to get a hop basket just because when brewing something like this, there's just so much matter in the bottom. Winds up being a lot of waste. But we're concerned that the hop utilization would be lost, and we'd have to increase the amount of hops, which would also increase the price.
Everything's proportional.
Yeah, and when you're doing things on a 10 times scale, $10 becomes $100. So
yeah, easy.
But no, the dry hop. I made up a hop hopper. Being the home brewer that I was or am,
Sure.
I went online and I looked and said, okay, so the hopper that they want to sell you is $450. I can make that out of PVC pipe and an RV holding tank valve. I made it for $12.
And nailed it.
Yeah, I stuck I put CO2 pressure in the fermenter. Our fermenters have a port in the top. So I put positive CO2 pressure in the fermenter, open the top port so CO2 is blowing out the top. Put my hopper on top of it, which I designed to fit snugly in the port. So now all the CO2 is blowing through the hopper. I close my port. I got a hose on the side of it where I put the CO2 to that and blow CO2 through the um, container that the hops go in, and slowly pour the hops in while the CO2 is blowing out the top of that. Cap it off, and then pull the valve open and dumps the hops right in, all air purged. So no air gets in. The first time we made the Sun Ring, we weren't too diligent about. I should say I wasn't too concerned about oxygen getting in, and it was fine for a while. But after about 3 to 4 weeks, it started turning kind of an army green.
Really?
Yeah. Any IPAs are really susceptible to oxidation.
So yeah, I mean, and I don't know, man. I
Tastes
just
all right. It was
figured,
ugly.
yeah, and people don't like it when it's it's already for the purist, it's a rough beer to sell because it's hazy. But then like when it starts changing color, I know that spooks a lot of people.
Yeah, and then
But I didn't think it would be that easy to do at a commercial level, just because of the sheer amount of CO2 that you're generating on a fermentation.
right, but there's also larger surface areas and larger quantity of hops, which has all the precursors. When you dry hop stuff, especially in the quantities you're doing in any IPA, the oxidation level is really, really susceptible.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the color of that, and that looks okay.
Yeah, no, this is okay.
I think I'm doing a lot better brewing commercially than I was homebrewing.
Really? You think you've
I think my it's easier.
You think so?
Yeah, because it's true what they say. On a small batch, small mistakes are big. On a big batch, small mistakes remain small.
Okay. All right, I could see that. No, I mean, I had the bitter. I loved it. I really did like it. I'm 2/3 of the way through this New England, and I got no regrets there, other than I wish I had some food to go with it. So no, I mean, it seemed like you're knocking it out of the park. And how's Midsummer doing overall? I mean,
we could do better. Of course, that's true all the time. We need to get our commercial sales back up. In the wintertime, we take a big hit because I'll have to send you some other pictures too, or go to our Facebook page, and you can see more of. We got a beer garden in the back, and that's the one thing about Midsummer is we're a brewery, but we have a winery feel.
Okay.
You can come out and sit on the beer deck on the patio and back. We got fire pits, so you can have a fire going. Little bonfires. We got a gas grill out there if you want to bring your own burgers or whatever and grill up some food. So people gravitate toward that, and if it's nasty weather, they don't want to come out. Plus, we're out pretty much in the middle of nowhere. We are literally 12 miles from the nearest civilization, which is Pilot Mountain, which in North Carolina, 12 miles takes you about 25 to 30 minutes to drive because there isn't a straight road in the state. It's all
colonies. They all.
We're not in the mountains, but we're in the foothills, and everything's got to zigzag around everything. Pilot Mountain's about the weirdest looking mountain you've ever want to see, too. It looks like a core of a volcano. There's some decent video editing tools out there.
Oh, yeah.
They're actually free now that help. In fact, I did some videos on working on my system, but that's for my associates, and they're all labeled how I do it. How do I transfer beer out of the fermenter into the bright tank? How do I keg beer? How do I clean all the tanks and stuff like that? Because when I'm not there,
they need to know.
they need to know, and the stuff doesn't stop just because I'm not there.
Right.
You know.
For sure. I love it.
Then I have a helper, and he's like he wants no payment. He's a retired guy. He just wants something to do. He's older than me and probably better shape than I am. And he busts his butt for me. I unfortunately make him do all the dirty work. He grains out, he cleans out all the boil kettle and stuff like that. But he helps me get things set up, and he cleans kegs. So
you need it all, right?
He does the dirty work.
Everything.
Right.
It sounds like a good dude, whoever it is.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy from New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the people down there are kind of a mix of like 50% locals and 50% imports.
Okay.
A lot of people come down there to retire. We're kind of tucked into like winery areas, and at first I thought, it's just like a middle backwoods nowhere area. But then the more I stayed down there, I start realizing it's kind of a destination vacation area.
Okay.
Like if you went up to Michigan somewhere to get away,
mm-hmm.
because we're far enough from everything where, it's a different feel,